President Trump tweeting moments ago. He's quoting a legal blog called Lawfare, and his tweet says, remarkably, in the entire opinion, the panel did not bother even to cite the statute, a disgraceful decision. He is talking about the Ninth Circuit Court's decision on his travel ban. Joining us now is Senator Angus King. He's an independent, but he caucuses with the Democrats. Senator, great to have you here.
Good morning.
You've had a long night. I know that you voted at 1 a.m.
Oh, it was more like after 2.
Oh, okay. You voted.
But I was in time to get the 3:15 train from Washington to New York.
Here
I am.
That is commitment to New Day, that you took a 3:15 a.m. train. Thank you very much for being here. Okay, so let's talk about the news last night that the Ninth Circuit Court did not reinstate the president's travel ban. What's your reaction?
Well, I think we have to be careful not to read too much into it and not to understand that it's pretty important. The essential ruling was that the actions of the president in this situation are reviewable. I think what really stuck in the craw of the court, if you read the opinion, was that the president's counsel said it's not reviewable. The courts can't have any role in this.
Meaning the president does not have ultimate authority when it comes to national security, that the court wanted to know the evidence for changing this based on national security.
And that nobody's above the law in the Constitution. It cited some cases I haven't seen since law school. Ex parte Milligan, which was right after the Civil War. The president and the government have to follow the Constitution even in the time of war. Now, there's a long road on this. This is a temporary restraining order. If there are no further appeals, it'll go back to the district court in Washington where there will be a hearing and evidence and briefs next week. Or there'll be a further appeal to an en banc of the Ninth Circuit or to the U.S. Supreme Court.
President Trump vows to press on. In fact, he said, we'll see you in court. What does that mean to you?
Well, it could be any one of 3 places. It could be they could request an all-judge ruling from the Ninth Circuit, or they could try to take an appeal to the Supreme Court. That would be tough because they need 5 votes to even get there. Or they could go ahead and litigate the case in the district court in the state of Washington. So they have some options, and I don't think people should say, well, Trump lost and this case is over, because there's still a lot of deference, and the court mentioned this. There's a lot of deference to the president in areas of national security, but it's not unlimited, and that's what this case was all about.
What did you make of Supreme Court nominee Judge Gorsuch saying behind closed doors to a Democratic senator that he found President Trump's words about judges and the court disheartening and demoralizing?
I couldn't agree more. You can disagree with the court's decision. You know, that's why they invented law reviews. There are articles about court's decisions criticizing. But when you criticize the institution itself, so-called judge, he's not a so-called judge. He's a federal judge nominated by a president of the United States, approved by the United States Senate. So-called judge. It's like, remember the tweet with the intelligence community in quotes? That is delegitimizing one of the co-equal branches of our government, and it's really offensive, and it's particularly offensive to somebody like Judge Gorsuch, who's spent his whole life in the courtroom. And we've got to respect the institutions. If you delegitimize all your opponents, that ultimately is very destructive.
Let's talk about, we've had so much breaking news this morning that we have to cover a lot of things. Let's get to another breaking news story, and that is the New York Times and the Washington Post have sources that say that the NSA director, now Michael Flynn, spoke to the Russian ambassador to the U.S. before Donald Trump was installed as president in the White House. He spoke to him about U.S. sanctions. The suggestion is that somehow maybe General Flynn suggested that they would be sympathetic towards lifting sanctions. If that happened, because other people have denied it, including Vice President Pence, if that conversation happened before Mr. Trump was in the White House, what does that mean?
Well, there's an old law that goes back to the late 1700s called the Logan Act, where private citizens are not supposed to conduct foreign policy, but I don't think it's ever been enforced. It's of concern, though, and I think it's also of concern what Michael Flynn said. Apparently, at one point, he said these discussions never took place, and now he's saying, well, maybe they did, and
his spokesperson is saying that he can't remember, nor can he confirm that they did not take place.
Yeah, and that's different. He was pretty categorical, I think, several weeks ago. And the timing, as I recall, these conversations took place within a day or so of President Obama imposing the sanctions for the election hacking, Putin then tweeted that night or the next day he's not going to react. And then President-elect Trump tweeted, Putin's smart not to react.
So do you see all of those as being interconnected?
I don't know. But that's the time frame, and it is a concern, and you know, you shouldn't be conducting foreign policy and discussing these kinds of things until you're in office. This is important diplomacy.
So what do you do about it?
Well, I think we have to continue to look into it. Now, I'm on the Intelligence Committee, and we're going to be conducting the congressional investigation into the Russian hacking and what went on and why those sanctions were put on in the first place, and whether there were contacts between the Russian government and members of one or the other of the political parties, one or the other of the campaigns. I think that's very important information. As far as where this issue goes with Michael Flynn, I don't see it as necessarily something that's a crime or anything, but it does go to questions of credibility and judgment, frankly.
Senator Angus King, thank you for making the Herculean effort to be here in studio this morning. Great
Glad
to
to
see
be
you.
here.